Passing props in React. Introduction to props. So welcome everyone. We're going to look into one of the foundational concepts of React called props. Props are short for properties, and they are how components in React talk to each other. So you can think of props like the parameters you pass into a function. They are a, a little bit like HTML attributes, but with more flexibility and power. So in React, props can be almost anything, unlike HTML attributes. Uh, Props can be strings, numbers, arrays, objects, even other functions. So we will look at how these props enable a seamless flow of information from parent components down to their children, laying the groundwork for dynamic and interactive web applications. So you can see this example shows a simple parent and child component relationship. App is a parent component and greeting is a child component. We can see the app component passes a name prop to the greetings component, which greetings prop a greetings component then uses this prop to display a personalized greeting. Passing props to a component. So let's start by understanding how to pass props to a component. In React, we can uh, do this directly in the JSX. So for example, when we use an avatar component, we can pass it props just like we set attributes on an HTML tag. So we might want to pass a person object with details about user. So we can send like a username, and or we can pass a size prop to specify the dimensions of an avatar. So this is the first step into making components reusable, but at the same time dynamic. So by passing different props, the same component can behave in many different ways. So we're tailoring to the data it receives. So here's an example, and this example shows how to pass a complex object user. See, user is an object that has name, prop, and avatar URL, and simple data type size as props from the user profile component to avatar component. So by passing props, we can see that this avatar component uh, can be reused over and over by just changing name and avatar URL and size parameter. Reading props inside a component. So uh, you might have question as like how can we use prop once a prop is passed to a component? So inside the inside child component, we access props as if they were function parameters. So thanks to a feature of JavaScript called destructuring, we can pull props directly into our component's function signature. See this curly braces. So this makes it easier to use these props within our component. So it allows us to tailor the component's output based on the props it receives. It's a little bit like customizing an order at a restaurant, and you can think of props as ingredients, and you can think of the component output as the final dish. And this welcome message component will read the name and is logged in props to render a personalized welcome message based on whether the log is logged in is true or false. So if it is logged in as false, it will say welcome guest. If it's logged in is true, it will say welcome back, and uh, it will have that user's name. Default props values. So sometimes we might not pass every prop a component expects, or we want to have a fallback value. So JavaScript's default parameters come in handy here. We can set a default value for any prop directly in our component's function signature. So for example, we might set a default size prop for our avatar to ensure that it always has dimensions, even if we forget to specify them. This ensures that our component always behave predictably, even when certain information is missing. And here is another example. This button component also shows the default prop values where size defaults to medium if not specified by the parent component. Passing JSX to and children prop. So one thing I want to emphasize is that props are not limited to just data. We can also pass JSX elements, including other components as props. This is where the special children prop comes into play. It allows us to nest components within one another, just like we nest HTML tags. So for example, placing an avatar inside a uh, child card component, the card does not need to know what it's wrapping, doesn't need to know anything about avatar. It just renders its children props within its own JSX structure. This is a uh, composition pattern, which is especially powerful in React. This enables uh, developers to build complex UIs from simple and reusable components. So if you look at this example, we can see this card component accepts JSX elements as children, and it will allow uh, for flexible content composition within a style card container. So we would pass children, and then uh, it will have div, and then inside div we will show children. So basically what's happening is uh, inside this card we have this ace2 tag and p tag. So these are children. Props are immutable. So this is a key principle in React. So props cannot and props should not be changed by the components that receive them. So the child component that receive these props should not change them. So if a component needs to display different data, its parent should pass new props. This immutability principle ensures a predictable flow of data through our application. It's making our UIs stable and reliable. So when we talk about updating data in React, we would often look towards state, uh, which is a different concept we will explore in another session. So here is a example, the incorrect example that tries to modify a prop. So name prop is passed, and then inside, uh, if you try to change this name prop to Bob, then this is not allowed in React, and this will throw an error. So this shows this concept of props immutability. Recap and conclusion. So to wrap up, props are how we pass data and elements between components in React. They are similar to function arguments, but for components. So they allow us to customize and configure our components for different needs. You also want to remember that props are immutable. That means it's read-only, and it should only be considered as a snapshot of data at a given time. So as we move forward, I encourage everyone to experiment with props. Something that you can do is if you have components, some complex component, you might want to extract to read those components to reduce duplication and dynamically adjust styles or content with props, and you want to explore composition by nesting components. Thank you.